we'll be working on that. We'll be getting into a little bit of self-massage to get pressure points that will help release that tension for you. So I work nervous system. I give attention to nervous system first, because if nervous system isn't happy, nothing is happy. That kind of runs the show. I bring some ease to the lymphatic system to help take inflammation out of the body. And we will be getting some hands-on pressure point techniques, because you can sit there and stretch all you want, but if the body is in a protection response, if it's holding, then it isn't, you can sit there and stretch it all you want, but if you're pulling on a protection response, it's often just going to lock down even harder. So sometimes, you know, when we talk about stretching, we need to get into tissues that are locked down first, and then we can have a whole lot more range of motion. So yeah, body's first, its first job, and it takes it very seriously. That's why it keeps us alive, and it's all about keeping us alive, is secure, protect, support. So if we can give some love to that and remind the body that it doesn't have to protect so hard, then you can get a lot more freedom and spaciousness in the body. So I'm going to go ahead. I know you've muted yourselves, but I'm going to go ahead and keep y'all muted. Let's see. So that way for the recording. There we go. So welcome to class, everybody. Thank you for having me. I appreciate being here. And we'll start just by breathing into the body a little bit. And again, if you can have a blanket or a towel handy, because we will be using that to get into the front of the body and release a little bit. So it can be a pillow too. It can be, you know, it can be something really easy. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. Taking a few deep, easy breaths, allowing yourself to settle in. Allowing breath to deepen into the lower ribs and belly. Bringing some ease to the face just by bringing awareness to the face. Facial nerves are right next to cranial nerves. So if your face is vigilant and stern, the nervous system is as well. So if we can bring some ease into the face, we can bring some ease into the nervous system. And throughout the practice, you can vocalize on the exhales. You can hum on the exhales if you like. Helps bring some stimulation to the vagus nerves, which run down both sides of the neck. And then bring your awareness to feeling into an intention for your practice today. So maybe it is, my body moves freely. You can say it as if it is true right now to yourself or out loud. Y'all are muted, it doesn't matter. All right, rolling the shoulders a little bit just to see what sensation feels like. So we aren't going for stretch. We just want to see what things feel like in there. Maybe it's crunchy and sticky. Maybe it's smooth and easy. And if it is, fantastic. Gently, gently rolling the head out. So again, not going for stretch, just seeing what things feel like. You don't want to pull on the neck in this way. You don't want to put a whole lot of weight on it, generally speaking. Taking a few turns. Sometimes that first one is real tight, because again, secure, protect, support. That is what nervous system does all day, every day. And come to center, take a couple breaths. So using your fingers, again, we're going to get some pressure points for release, especially for the shoulders. I'm guessing a lot of y'all work at the desk. So this whole thing is happening the whole time. So being able to release all this tension so that the back of the body feels a little bit better. So you can do peace fingers, you can do live long and prosper, whichever one you want, but you're going to get above and below the collarbone and massage out the tissue here. Above and below the collarbone. And if you're pulling in one direction, the head can go in the opposite direction just to free up some tissue here. This is where lymph drains, our entire lymphatic system. It's like the heart area for the lymph system. So it all goes through here. We also have 3 cranial nerves coming back behind here. So and of course, blood flow. So if things are tight here, things are tight everywhere. I like going crossways. And release. Notice if that shoulder shifted a little bit, if it's dropped maybe, or if it feels differently in the body. Take a couple deep, easy breaths. Again, we're getting pressure points first so we can release those protection responses in the body so we have a more fuller range of motion and a bit more freedom. Let's go ahead and get opposite side. So again, above and below the collarbone. This whole area works really hard to keep our heads up. And if our arms are out here, it's holding our arms up as well. So they're not the largest muscles and they do a lot of work. So if they get tired and tight, I mean, you can't blame them, right? This is a daily practice for me. Go ahead and release. If you want to release your spine a little bit, you can go ahead and do so. And then take a couple deep, easy breaths. Notice if the shoulders feel a bit more even. Allowing breath and face to be easy. They weren't lying when we were kids. If you're like that all the time, your face is going to freeze that way. Your face, our muscles get used to being in a certain pattern. So we're going to continue with some release up here. Arm is going to come out to the side. Palm is going to be facing back behind you. Then bring the arm in back of you. So it can be down low, it can be at the waist, it can be up high, wherever is comfortable for you, as long as there is no sensation in the shoulder joint. So not pain, sensation. So you might be real low, which is fine. You're going to apply pressure inside the collarbone. So just inside of it, pushing down or pushing out, down and out to the side. So kind of tacking it down. And then head is going to turn in the opposite direction. So we're getting those scalenes here. The scalenes are at the side of the neck. We're getting the fascia through the front of the neck. And you can readjust and get back into it if you like. Anybody feeling it in their jaw? So those of you who have tension in the jaw too, TMJ, this is part of what will be helpful. And come on out. Again, notice if that shoulder feels differently. Maybe it's dropped. I always feel a little bit like Quasimodo. I'm like this. So just enjoy it for a moment. Allow body and nervous system to catch up. This is okay too. It's okay for body to be in this range of motion as well. All right, let's do the opposite side. Hand comes out to the side, palm is facing back behind us, arm comes behind the back. Wherever is comfortable for you, this side may be feeling very differently. Usually we have a dominant side and that side is different. So go ahead and tack that down. I like going down and out, and then go ahead, turn head in the opposite direction. Notice if this side feels differently. Often one side is a bit more locked down. Or it's locked down in a different way. It's compensating and holding us up in a different way. And go ahead and release. Notice if your shoulders feel a bit more even. Take a couple deep, easy breaths first before we play with how things feel in there again. You can roll the wrists out a little bit because you will feel that down the chain. We're doing a lot of lines in the body, including both front and back arm lines in that. So go ahead, roll the shoulders out a little bit. Notice if they feel a little differently. Maybe they're just crunchy and sticky in a different way. Maybe there's still grind in there. Maybe there's still grit, but it just feels different. And gently, again, very gently, because when we release things, we don't want to come at the body hard. Gently roll the head out. Go to like your 80% before you allow yourself to feel a fuller range. People who are type A personalities, go to your 30%. Some of y'all can go a little harder on the body than it's necessary. And come to center. Go ahead and tap on the sternum. Again, vagus nerves are back behind here. Thymus gland is back behind here. Where our T cells or white blood cells go to finish developing. So this is a good one to help calm nervous system. Go ahead, switch hands. Just to give some ease and protection to the body. Letting you know it's okay. Take a couple deep, easy breaths. Notice if breath feels differently, if face feels differently. Thank you, body. All right, we're going to get a couple more pressure points at the same time. So especially for frozen shoulder, there is a pressure point here, right where towards the end of the shoulder, at the end of the collarbone. So you can feel that for a second, and we're going to get 2 points at the same time. So you'll hit a spot where you're like, oh my God, that's the spot. You'll get into tissue where you're like, oh, okay, that's where it is. The other point that we're going to get is in the armpit. So just in that, where body comes out a little bit, where you can feel the musculature. So there is points in here as well for frozen shoulder and for shoulder issues. And again, this tissue is often very sensitive. It's very neglected. So you'll feel into that point where you're like, what is in there? I had no idea that I was holding that. So we're going to get both at the same time. Thumb is going to go into that spot where you're like, that's where it is. Fingers grip in. And you can move it around. And you can also pull out and down from the body. Oh my goodness. Depending on how you're doing it, you may actually feel it in the back of your shoulder blade too. That spot underneath the shoulder blade, you're like, oh my God, how do I get in there? You address it from the front of the body often, because that's what's pulling on it. Again, in yoga, they are, in Ayurveda, these are called Marma points. In traditional Chinese medicine, they're called Meridian points, but there is a lot of overlap. So unfortunately, a lot of people don't bring in the Ayurveda to yoga. It's our sister science of yoga. And release. Again, notice if that shoulder feels differently. I know, small things, but you're like, oh my God, big payoff. And it's simple and it's easy and you can do it yourself. So allow yourself to enjoy that for a moment. And then we'll get into fuller range of motion for the shoulders. All right, go ahead. We'll do the opposite side. So again, thumb is going into that spot at the outside, just underneath the collarbone, that V underneath the collarbone. And then those fingers are going to wrap around inside. You'll find your spots where you're like, oh, this is where I need it. And then again, you can move it around. So no amount of stretching when fascia is tacked down, is stuck one to the other, is really going to help it release as much as getting into those tissues manually. If you want to see how it is related to neck and shoulder pain, go ahead and move your head and see if you can feel how it's pulling. So if this is tight, if front of body is tight, it's going to pull on everything in the back. Oh my goodness. And go ahead and release. Roll the wrists out a little bit. Maybe you feel a difference in there too. Go ahead and take a few deep, easy breaths. Hopefully both sides feel a bit more even. There are more points to get around the shoulder, but this is what we're going to do for right now today. You can go ahead and bring feet in front of you. We're going to twist on the exhale. So go ahead, turn to the side. Arm is going to come back behind you. On the exhale, go ahead and twist. We're going to release the spine a little bit. You can take a couple breaths there. And come back to center. Anybody feel a little bit difference in their twist than they generally do? Take a couple breaths. And let's get the other side. Arm comes back behind you to steady you on the ground. Go ahead and twist, and exhaling on the twist. And come back to center. So we're using breath, body weight, and gravity to help with our twist in this case. Take a couple breaths at center, just noticing if breath feels differently, shoulders feel differently, and if face feels a little differently. So to get a little bit of the back of the body, We're going to do each arm individually. So arm is going to come across the body, holding with the opposite arm, gently breathing and allowing that side of the body to expand. So we're going to get that side of the body in a couple different ways. If you really want to bring some space into the ribs, you can lean towards that opposite side a little bit too. Just a little bit. And come on back. Again, notice if there's a difference in the breath. It's always good to acknowledge, come back to center, allow everything to adjust, and then go into the opposite side. Bringing opposite arm across the body. Go ahead and secure it. Taking deep, easy breaths, allowing those ribs to expand. And if you're really feeling fancy, go ahead and bend into that opposite side a little bit, allowing for those ribs to open. Not just open, just we're regaining space in our own bodies. It's ours to begin with. It's just body generally tends to protect us, whether it's from an injury, whether it's from a muscle imbalance, overuse, a weakness maybe. Body is going to support us in the best way that it can. And come on back to center. Notice if breath feels differently. There's a bit more ease in the body. So we came across the front of the body. Now we're going to bring it up and over. So hand is palm up. So we want that external rotation in the shoulder joint. So we don't want to be crunching into tissue. Bring arm up. Allow arm to bend and then hold the elbow. If it is within your practice, if you feel like you can get there. And again, allowing for that space in the side of the body. If you like, you can kind of bring the ribs out. So we want to kind of stay centered. We're just allowing that middle of the body to bow out a little bit. Come back to center. Take a breath at center. And then arm comes down, release. And we'll address that side body in a different way too. So you can see different ways, especially in your standing practice, how you can bring it into the practice a little bit. Notice how things feel. And opposite side. Palm is up. Bringing arm up, allowing elbow to bend, and then hold that elbow. Taking deep, easy breaths, just allowing body to get used to it first. This may not be something that is in your daily activity, this range of motion. And if you like, allow those ribs to come out a little bit. Breath is deep and easy. Face is easy. So we're giving the nervous system information through the breath and through the face that things are okay here. If breath is tight, if face is tight, so is nervous system. It's going to bind up and protect us. Body comes back to center. Take a breath or two. And arms come down. Take a couple deep, easy breaths. So if that side of the body has some constriction in it, shoulder is going to take a hit, right? Because it won't have that full range of motion. Actually, we'll get the back of the head and neck too. To address it in a different way, you sometimes do it in a standing practice. You can do it in a sitting practice, but arm is going to come down. Then arm comes over. Palm again is facing center of the body, center line. Taking a couple deep, easy breaths. Allowing those ribs to find some space. And if it's hard on the neck muscles to keep your head up, it's okay to allow some ease here. I'm always surprised at what release can come here. So coming out, arm is going to come down first, palm down, body, head comes up last. Whew. Anybody else dizzy? Take a couple breaths. Notice if there's more space in that side. We're going to go ahead and do opposite side. Arm comes down to support you. Palm is up, comes up and overhead. So there's enough strength to hold you up, but not check in with vessels that don't need to work so hard. Feel into what is working in the body and allow as much ease as possible. I mean, obviously there's some, right? There's some work because we got to hold ourselves up, but go palm down, arm comes down first, body comes up, head follows last. Feel like a human lava lamp, everything kind of. It's weird. Take a couple deep, easy breaths. And again, check in with the shoulders. Notice how things feel in the joints. Gently roll out the head. Breath and face easy. Intention fully supported. Come to center, take a couple deep, easy breaths. So we're going to try a couple things where we're opening, well, not opening, but bringing relief to the front of the body and some spaciousness in the front of the body. And then we'll do a little bit of twist in that position as well. So coming into a bit of a puppy pose. So you're going to be in child's pose, bringing arms out in front of you first. So we'll do child's pose first. Head comes down. Allowing the back of the body to spread here. Forehead is down on the ground. It's a nervous system cue as well. It's why kids will put their heads down on the desk. So feeling supported here, allowing body to release whatever tension may be here. We're going to walk the hands up. So body is going to follow a little bit until we're in more of a puppy pose. So rear will be up in the air. The arms will be out in front of you. Head is down on the ground. So you're getting a little bit more space through the side of the body, back of the body, and front of the body. And here you're more, head is resting more at the hairline. So there isn't a lot of cranking in the neck. I'd be feeling it between the shoulder blades. So come up, head is going to come up. And we're going to bring in a gentle twist. So arm is going to come up underneath the body, palm up. Exhale, allow yourself to come down, gentle twist. To wherever feels good for you. Deep, easy breaths, allowing release to happen in the spine and rib cage. And if you want to use the hand that isn't on that whole side, isn't on the ground, you can actually use that hand to push in a little bit if you'd like to deepen your twist. But don't go so far that your hips rotate as well. And come back to center. Take a couple deep, easy breaths. Go ahead, opposite arm comes up underneath the body, palm up. Turning head in that direction too, allow yourself to come down. Body weight comes down on the outside of that arm. So we're fully supported here. Using breath, gravity, body weight, and positioning to do the work for us. Breath and face are at ease. And breathing back to center, take a couple deep, easy breaths, come back into child's pose, and just rest for a moment. And come back to seated. And then we'll come down, lying down on the ground and get a little bit more of that deep front line of the body and superficial front lines. Taking a couple deep, easy breaths, noticing how things feel now. Roll out the wrists a little bit. Just Just a couple of deep, easy breaths, noticing what breath feels like. Breath is at ease, face is at ease. And maybe even feeling into your intention. Maybe it's shifted. If you like, you can gently tap on the sternum too, just to help calm nervous system. Had a client I did body work on. This was their favorite part. I was like, really? Out of everything we did, this was your favorite? You never know what people are going to resonate with. All right, go ahead, rub hands together. We're going to get back of the neck. Important part of the body to protect now when it's windy. Go ahead and place hands at the base of the skull. And then massage base of the skull. So that V in the back, go ahead and give that some love. I like moving the head a little bit too. Tension here equals tension everywhere. Go ahead and release. And again, and notice if there's anything that feels differently. Take a couple breaths. We're going to give belly and hip flexors some love. So I do this demonstration a lot, but I think I can do it with this sweatshirt. So if this is all tight here in the belly and I try to raise my arm, it isn't going to go very far. But if I release it, all of a sudden I have full range of motion. So belly pulls on everything. Shoulders are going to come in, hips are going to get tight. Belly is attached to literally everything else. Knee issues, hip issues, shoulder issues, neck issues. Belly has a huge say in it. So we're going to give belly a little bit of love, and we're also going to get the front of the hips a little bit. So make sure you have blanket handy. We're going to come down to the ground, or pillow, just something that can go up underneath the pelvis. So come down side first, and then roll onto back. Go ahead and windshield wiper the knees a little bit. Get a release in whatever way feels good for the body. You can allow for some release here, noticing what things feel like in your hip mobility and the hip joints. Check that out. And go ahead and stretch arms up overhead, releasing whatever tension may be present. And then settle back down at center. Hands are palm up. Knees are bent, feet are flat on the floor. Go ahead and roll out wrists and ankles. Then bring feet down and allow knees to rest on one another. Taking a couple deep, easy breaths here. Allowing body to feel fully supported by the surface that you're on. Feeling what your contact points feel like, where body connects with the surface that's supporting you. Noticing how breath may be easier here. Why? Body doesn't have to work to hold you up at the same time. How does body respond to feeling supported? How do breath and face and intention respond to feeling supported at the body level? Placing hands on belly. Noticing how belly and hands move through the breath. Gently rub belly clockwise, so like you're rubbing a baby's belly. You soothe things. You can't just go digging into organs. You got to soothe things first. Introduce sensation. Pause at center. So we're going to do a twist in a slightly different way. There's some great physical therapists that do it this way too. So go ahead and put some weight into the feet. Gently bring pelvis out to the side a little bit. That's the side we're going to twist away from. So in that side that we just moved the hips towards, that side of the rib cage, we're going to get into that tissue just inside the rib cage. We're going to pull it in and down towards the belly button. I'm going to pop up so y'all can see what I'm talking about. We're going to pull it in and down. And then we're going to allow knees to fall in that direction as well. So take a deep breath. Pull the tissue and then allow the knees to fall that way as well. If you really want to get deeper into it, you can allow the arm that we're twisting away from to come out to the side, palm up, as long as there is no sensation in that shoulder joint. Adjusting knees accordingly to where it feels good for you. Allowing body to release some tension here. If you like, you can rock head side to side a little bit. You can often release tension in the neck. Again, belly is going to pull on everything. On the exhale, legs come back to center. Recenter body. Take a few deep, easy breaths. What do things feel like? Is there more space in that side of the breath? Does that side of the body feel a bit longer? Allowing face to be easy too. Go ahead and shift the pelvis into the opposite direction. So whichever side you did first, you're doing the opposite side, getting that tissue just inside that upper rib cage, pulling it in and down towards the belly button. And on the exhale, knees fall to the opposite side. And yeah, you can roll out the ankles. Often we'll feel release down the chain. So down the arm chains, down the leg chains. If you're feeling good here, allow the arm that we are twisting away from to come out to the side, palm up. And if you're feeling things in tension in the neck, And head gently rock head side to side. This is great for neck tension. On your next exhale, come back to center. Realign yourself, come back to your center. Adjust back of the body on the ground if it needs to. Notice what things feel like now. Hopefully the space in both sides of the body is a bit more equal. Deep, easy breaths. All right. So go ahead and grab your pillow or your blanket. I like rolling mine up because I like a little bit of height. It's going to go up underneath the back of the pelvis. So the bottom of your support is just above that front of the hip flexor. So if you elongate the leg, it kind of drops down a little bit and you're getting a little space through the front of that leg. So not in the waist, but in the back of the pelvis. So waist and then come down a little bit further. Go ahead, hug the knees in. So it is going to tilt your pelvis so that we're going to get more space through the front of the hip flexors. Go ahead and rock it out side to side, giving the back of your pelvis a massage. So you're going to be a few inches below your natural waist. Just above where that curvature of the bum comes out. At the largest part of the curve of your rear. That we're right above that. Roll the ankles out. Take a couple deep breaths. Hug one knee in. I like hugging back behind the back of the knee. Opposite foot comes down. Slide the leg out until you feel space in the front of that leg. Deep, easy breaths. Rolling out ankles whenever you need to. If you'd like to deepen, you can push through the heel of the elongated leg, but I invite you to just allow body to release on its own. Again, body is going to grip until it feels that it is okay here. So take your time. There's no forcing release. It is the opposite of release. Force is the opposite of release. Noticing how a deep breath will change the sensation through the front of the leg. Deep, full breaths. Breath is easy, face is easy. Take a couple more deep, easy breaths. Gently bring leg back towards you, rock it out. Roll the ankles out whenever you need to. It's a great way to massage the back of the pelvis to the upper part, more towards your SI joints. Take a couple deep, easy breaths. At your center. Hug opposite knee. Again, I like hugging back behind the knee. Opposite foot comes down. Go ahead and elongate the leg to wherever feels good for you. Rolling out ankles whenever you need to. And again, not using all your muscles to hold that leg up. I mean, yes, we're holding, we're hugging, but as we don't need to use everything. Allowing everything to go progressively more slack with each breath. So we're just setting the body up to release on its own. Body positioning, weight, gravity, and breath are going to do the work for us. There's no effort here. We aren't forcing the body to do anything. We're inviting it to allow some pressure to be released. It's just an invitation. Feeling how it feels to be fully supported and yet still finding space within the body. Breath and face easy. And even intention fully supported in our practice. Noticing how the front of the hip feels differently at the top of the breath. Follow that sensation through the cycle of the breath, noticing what things feel like. Taking a couple more breaths here before we come back to our center. The exhale, bringing leg back in towards us. Go ahead, rock it out. Feet come down, place some weight into the feet, take the support out from under you. And you can put that support underneath your knees. Supporting yourself in Shavasana. Allowing yourself to feel supported here. If you can adjust to make yourself feel a little bit more comfortable, go ahead and do so. Noticing how body responds to feeling supported. Feeling that inner okayness, that inner resource, that space within where we are always whole and unharmed. That space where we feel most secure, most protected, most supported, and most at ease. Allowing yourself to rest here, to be nourished and recharged. Gently coming back. Feeling how you're supported here. How breath just naturally happens by itself. Gently rolling out the wrists and ankles, and gently rocking head side to side. If you'd like, if it feels good for you, bringing palms together at heart center, allowing sides of the thumbs to rest on the sternum. Giving ourselves a little bit of oxytocin for the rest of our day. Thanking our bodies for all that they do for us. Thanking ourselves for taking time to give love and care to our bodies and our beings. And I thank you so much for allowing me to share your practice today with you, everyone. Thank you. Om Shanti. So, let's see.